Okay, so this is going to be a video on how to graph vertex form, which is this one here. So the first thing about recognizing form, and the reason why this is so important, is because knowing the form tells you which pieces of information you can get. And I really probably should put x-intercepts here, but we'll save that for a second. So the idea here is that knowing the form tells you which pieces of information you can get easily and which ones you can't. So since I know that's vertex form, I know I can't get the other things easily. I can get them, it's just going to take a lot of work. So the first thing about recognizing vertex form is the idea of like, what isn't it? This is not vertex form. For so many reasons, right? Like that's the equation of a line. This is not a vertex form because it doesn't even make a parabola, it makes an absolute value. That's what makes this an absolute value, the bars. This is not vertex form. This is not vertex form. So sometimes knowing vertex form is recognizing what it's not. So what makes vertex form is that one parenthesis with a square on the outside. This teeny tiny 2 and one set of parentheses makes it vertex form. Okay, so now that you know that it's vertex form, how do you get the vertex from it? Well, you find a vertex, which is a point, by identifying the x and the y coordinate. So naturally, I look for the x in the equation, and I notice that it's with a -2, so I'm going to change the sign, and the number that's in the y, the only number that's left over, that must be a 3. And the reason there's a sign change is because, remember, this is all about transformations. This parabola has been moved to the right 2 and up 3. Right 2 because the x-axis travels sideways, and up 3 because the y-axis travels up and down, and this number is not with the x. So the short story is you first identify vertex form, find the x, change the sign, take the number that's behind the parentheses and leave it alone. And then once I have a point, I'm just going to go ahead and graph it. So 2, 3 is my vertex, and 2, 3 is the address of one point. So these two numbers, which represent 2 letters, tell me that that one point lives here. Now, in order to make a parabola, you need 3 points. And so because vertex form is pretty straightforward, I can go to the equation, look to see what kind of movement I have. That minus sign means instead of making a U shape up and over, it's going to face down and over. So from the vertex, which is the most important part of the parabola right here, I'm going to move down 1 to the left 1 and down 1 to the right 1 in each direction to make that U shape facing down. And that's my parabola. And again, the reason I'm moving down is because of the minus sign right there. All right, and that's how you graph vertex form. I'm missing some information here, the y-intercept, and what we should know about all y-intercepts. And let me remind you, this y-intercept will not come from the equation by just writing it down. None of these are right, because all I did was I just looked at the numbers and switched them around a little bit, and then I said, ta-da, that's it. But remember, vertex form only gives you the vertex easily. This is going to require work. If it's in vertex form, the vertex is easy. The rest of the stuff is not. So, all right, then how do you get the y-intercept? So what's special about every y-intercept is that the x is 0. That's true for all things. And so when you think of an ordered pair, the x represents the first number. Not only is this the x, but this is also the input. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the equation, and every time I see x, instead of writing x, I'm going to rewrite it with a 0. And I'm only doing that because I know my input has to be 0, and I only know my input is 0 because it's a y-intercept. And all y-intercepts always have an x of 0. So now from here on out, I could type that whole equation into Desmos, or I could just do it in pieces, kind of up to me or you. You can type that whole phrase in, not with the y, just the part with the numbers in it. I bring down that minus sign. 0 minus 2 is -2, but -2 squared is 4. Bring down the 3, and -4 plus 3 is -1. So 0 went in, Sorry, I'm blowing up here on my phone. -1 came out. And so that's my ordered pair for my y-intercept. And let's just double check, like, does this even make sense? 0, -1 would live down here. And actually, it's predictably pretty close to where I just roughly estimated it from my parabola here. So if I really wanted to be authentic, I could put 0, -1 here. That's my y-intercept. And then use the mirror image. If it's 2 this way from the vertex, then it's got to be 2 this way to get that mirror image symmetry. And now what I really have is an even nicer looking parabola that's pretty authentic. Okay, I really hope that helps.